Alright, this is Mr. Gillum, and today we're looking at graphing on the coordinate plane. This is in your instruction book on page 130. Ellen is a college student. She started her day in her room. Then she attended classes in science, education, and art buildings. She ate lunch in the dining hall before meeting a friend at the music building. The coordinate plane represents a map of Allen's college campus. Graph each building as a point on a coordinate plane labeled with the first letter of the building. So that last sentence is kind of important because you might not catch that. It says just label with the first letter of the building. So we will label science S, education E, art A, dining D, and music M. She started actually in her room, so we can actually even put a point on her room, R, room. We can call that 0, 0, the origin where she began. It says you can use words to describe the location. So science, if these are the coordinates for each of these places, remember that we describe coordinates as x and y, and the first number is left and right, the second number is up and down, left is negative, right is positive, down is negative, up is positive. So if science is at negative 5, 3, that means it is left 5 units and up 3 units. If education is negative 6, 0, we're going to move left 6 units and up and down no units at all. We stay right where we're at. Art is at negative 2, negative 5, so we move left 2, down 5. Dining hall, we don't move left or right at all, we just go down 1 unit. And then music, we're both positive values, so we go to the right 6 units and up 5 units. And so as far as the ups and downs are concerned, up is positive, down is negative, left is negative, right is positive. And always think of your coordinate plane, your x-axis, bigger numbers to the right, smaller numbers to the left. Thermometer, bigger numbers at the top, smaller numbers at the bottom. That's called the y-axis. You can graph the ordered pairs to solve the problem. And you can see that they did not graph her room, but if she started at her room, I'm assuming that that is the central location. And that's where all of these are plotted, assuming that the origin is her room. So all these places that she goes during the day are at these locations. So it says you can graph the order of pairs to solve the problem. Okay, so let's just go ahead and practice that. Negative 5, 3. So if we start in the origin, we're going to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the negative direction, and 1, 2, 3 in the positive direction. And you can see they've labeled S there. If I'm looking at negative 6, 0, these can be tricky because whenever there's a 0 involved, we know we're going to be actually on the axis line. So we need to make sure we're going left or right first, up and down second. So left or right, negative 6. So I should say this is not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It is 0 and then 1, distance of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 this way, up and down 0. You can see that it is labeled E for education. That is a mistake that I forgot to mention in my last video that I see students make a lot. They count and they start counting at 0, counting 1 like that, 2. Okay, that is not at 2, that is at 1 still. You do not count the origin as your first number. When we graph art, I'm not counting 1, 2 like that. I'm starting here and I'm counting 1, 2 in the left direction, down 5, not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's starting here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So it's 5 from where you begin. It's a distance of 5, an absolute value of negative 5, a distance of 5. So you can see they labeled art with A. 0, negative 1, again, another one with a 0 coordinate. That means this time we're actually going to start here and we're not going to move anywhere left and right. We are only going to move up and down negative 1. In this case, that is down. You can see that they put dining hall there. And finally, music, 6, 5. That is 6 in the positive direction. So I'm starting here, I'm not counting that as 1. I'm starting here and going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 5 in the positive direction. I'm not counting this as 1. I'm starting at 0 again and saying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can see they've labeled the music there. Okay, so that's how you graph each of those coordinates. It says, why is the origin important when graphing points on the coordinate plane? It's important because that's where we start at. A lot of times in the past, you may have just seen the first quadrant because we've only graphed positive numbers, and we always started in the corner. We do not start in the corner on our coordinate plane. All right, we start in the origin on our coordinate plane. So that's a misconception that I see quite a bit for my students as well. They want to start on the edge of the graph, and really we start in the origin in the middle, not on the edge. So when it says why is it important? Because that's where we start at. It says look at the ordered pairs and model it. What does the first coordinate tell you? What does the second coordinate tell you? Well, the first coordinate, what they're talking about is what does the x value tell you? So we need to know what the x value means and what the y value means. The x value means left and right. The y value means up and down. Okay, the first coordinate tells you how many units to move left or right. The second coordinate tells you how many units to move up or down. And we all know left or down is indicated by a negative sign. It says Alan's room is located at 3, -3. Use words to describe the location on a coordinate plane. If we're using words to describe, then we could say that she's moving right 3 units. 3 in the positive direction would be to the right, and down 3 units, -3 in the y direction, which would be down. We could also say that it is in the 4th quadrant if we wanted to. Oops, sorry. There we go. Her room is 3 units to the right and 3 units down. I guess that would be something good to remind you. This is the first coordinate, second coordinate, third coordinate, and fourth coordinate. Okay. What does it mean when the x coordinate or y coordinate is a point that has a 0? Well, that means that we're not moving left or right or up and down at all. And that'll result in a coordinate being on the axis. So that's really the important thing. If you see a 0, you're going to be on an axis, not in a quadrant. If the x coordinate is 0, that means we're moving left and right none. So we're not moving anywhere, so it'll be somewhere on the y-axis. If the x coordinate is 0, if the y coordinate is 0, we're moving left and right, but we're not going up and down. So it'll be somewhere on the x-axis. And that's kind of what that explains on there as well. It says explain how to graph a point on the coordinate plane. Well, on the coordinate plane, you look at the coordinate of the point, and what we do is the first number tells us to move left or right. The second number tells us to move up or down. We start at the origin and we move from there. So we start at the origin, we look at the x coordinate and move left or right, then we look at the y coordinate and move up or down. Okay, things that we've talked about already. Yeah. So let's try it. Graph and label these locations on a coordinate plane. Explain how each point is related to the origin. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is just, looks like to me, we need a graph and label. So location on a coordinate plane. So over here on the right, I've done that. And I'm going to walk you through how that works. And it looks like they've actually written the word on the graph instead of just abbreviating. But if you'd like to put H for home, and S for school, and L for library, and P for park, that would be fine as well. The home is at 0, -3. So we're moving left and right 0. So I'm not going to move anywhere on the x-axis. I'll move on the y-axis 3. 1, 2, 3. So that's where home is. And you can see they labeled it home. We also have the school, which would be at -2, -3. So I'm going to start at 0, 0. I'm going to move 1, 2 in the negative x direction, and 3 in the negative y direction. You can see that's where the school is located. The library is at -1, 3. So -1 in the x direction, to the left one, and 3, +3 in the y direction. Now it doesn't say +3, but we know if there's no negative sign, we assume that it is positive. So when I move 3 up, you can find the library, and finally the park at 2, -3. So I'm going to start at the origin. I'm going to count 1, 2 from there, not counting the origin as the first number. So not 1, 2. It's start here, 1, 2. 2, -3. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to start right there, and you can see that's where the park has been labeled. Okay, so we've graphed and labeled these locations on the coordinate plane. Explain how each point is related to the origin. And I'm actually going to just say this out loud for you, and I want you to fill it in. If there is blanks, maybe I forgot to put the blanks in there for your book, but you can describe how each point is related to the origin by talking about moving left and right, up and down. We could also talk about its relationship in the quadrant. You can see that we have nothing in first quadrant, the library is in the second quadrant, the school is in the third quadrant. Home is actually not in a quadrant, it's on an axis line. It's on the y-axis, and then the park is in the fourth quadrant. It's asking actually left and right. So we would put in words left and right 0, down 3. This would mean left 2, down 3. This would be left 1, up 3, and this would mean right 2, down 3. You use words, not arrows, but I have sloppy handwriting, and if there's a space to write that stuff in, use the actual words, please. So your instruction book looks nice and neat and tidy. All right, so that's it for today. We still review the quadrants. Remember, quadrant 1 starts in the top right-hand corner. The first number is x and moves on the x-axis. The second number is the y number, moves on the y-axis. Positive is up or to the right, negative is left or down. Okay, that's it for today.